welcome to a podcast about something where each week we dive deep into whatever it is we find interesting. I am your host, Calvin, and joining me from the top floor of Nakatomi Plaza, it's Nick Richardson.
Oh my God, what's up, man?
How's it going over there?
It's pretty busy right now. I'm lying in wait currently.
And how's the Christmas party? Good Christmas party?
It's been explosive. Let's say that.
Oh, Die Hard's not a Christmas movie. Hashtag. So yeah, today, if you're wondering why Nick is stuck with the terrorist and Hans Gruber, we are talking B movies and biceps, action movie stars of the 80s, maybe a little bit of what's going on today in the action star world, but maybe not. We'll see.
Yeah, mostly the 80s. I mean, they're classics. They kind of reinvented the genre, if you know what I mean.
There's always they invented the genre.
You know, there's a strong argument for that.
Because I would say, if you think about it, action stars of the 60s action stars of the 60s, probably westerns mostly.
I
wouldn't call that action. I've never enjoyed a western because it's not action packed enough for me.
Unforgiven, dude. Whew, that's a classic. But that's like the lone western movie I'll watch.
I stay away from them for the most part. 70s, you got more into a little bit of the gangster, mafia, mob boss. You know, you have Scarface, Godfather, things like that coming up. So again, not action. Not what we're talking about today. What we're talking about today is real action for the sake of action.
Talking about B movies and biceps.
B movies and biceps. That's what it was in the 80s. I mean, there's no argument to be had that it was anything other than that.
No, those dudes were so jacked, but I mean, they were perfect.
There was a lot of steroid use going on.
Oh,
I don't think they cared.
A lot of drugs too, I'm sure. You know, cocaine and the trifecta, and then they just go film movies in their spare time. But they like you said, you'd say they invented this genre, and I agree to a certain extent. Like 99%. But in the end, I'm kind of stuck with this question of what makes a good action star. And I mean, I settled on the points
the biceps
of
help.
Dude, the biceps are a must. That's like point A. So if you're a model, unless you're modeling for like, I don't know, Average Person Weekly, they want you to be really pretty. You got to have biceps in these things, man. So yeah, that was my second point, which you got to have a trend of being buff as hell, and your marketability.
Yeah, that's a good point, because that was these guys that we're going to talk about. We'll throw out a couple names here in a few minutes. I'm sure as we talk about this, the listeners, you all have a picture in your brain of who the people we're talking about are. But for the most part, these guys knew how to place themselves as, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm here for.
Absolutely.
Like, I'm not here for your serious role. I'm not here to be in Godfather. I'm here to fuck some shit up and make some explosions happen.
Right. I didn't go to Juilliard and I didn't take ballet, so give me a gun and point me in the right direction. I feel like they all talked like that, except for the ones with the big time accents.
But even those guys, they tried to talk like that. They did their best job trying to figure out how to work that style of talk into their weird accent.
And I mean, what is that really? Is it like the gravelly voice of someone, working the midnight shift at McDonald's? Like, I could never. It's not.
It's Batman. Is what it is.
It's not.
It's Dark Knight.
It's Bicep Knight. He's the sixth cousin 3 times removed, or whatever you want to call it. But I mean, they all.
He's like Azazel to Christian Bale's Batman. Really is what this guy is. There's a deep comic books cut for you guys.
Gotta love it. But all these guys have been in the same style of movie, I would say, for sure. I mean,
I call him Azazel. Man, that dude's name is Azrael.
I was gonna say
from X-Men.
I thought you had a deeper cut than I did for a second. I'm like, huh? Maybe Azrael. But
yeah, Azrael is who I meant. Azazel is Nightcrawler's father. So different franchise there. Sorry to all the comic book nerds out there.
I am so offended, and I need a safe space and a written apology. And at the very least, sir, I need to see your manager.
I know. I feel like I'm gonna get after the first statement where I said Azazel, I'm gonna people are gonna start typing out their angry tweets, and then all of a sudden they're gonna go, oh shit! All right, He corrected himself. The names are close. Come on, give me some slack, guys.
You're lucky, buddy. You're lucky I'm deleting this. I know people.
Yeah. Well, I'm scared.
You better be, brother. So yeah, I mean these guys.
Action stars.
We kind of got on a tangent, but always good tangents. So they all have their own, their own specific style within a general genre, which is it's super marketable. Because a lot of people do want to just watch a movie where shit explodes. There's bullets, boobs, and blood.
Yeah, and you could go see, at the time you would see these movies because these people were in them. You didn't care about what the story was.
Right.
It was always action over story. And you knew going to a movie with Stallone, with Schwarzenegger, with Bruce Willis, with Carl Weathers, Wesley Snipes a little bit later, like you knew going to one of these movies what you were getting into. You knew the plot was going to be thin, but they were going to get a gun and get pointed in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think back to like the people who read the first description of like the Terminator, and they're just like, a cyborg, comes back from the future. What? Like this sounds dumb as hell.
But it didn't matter because it was Arnold, like
exactly
being buff.
And, I mean, I still watch movies with him in it. Just because, I mean, the Expendables, they have all the great B movie guys.
Yeah, and that was the point of them. I didn't really like the Expendables series, but that's neither here nor there.
It's one of those where it's just explosions, and guns, which sometimes it can be really funny. Like they're just out. I mean, Terry Crews has a minigun in this movie, and it's an automatic shotgun, which is just asinine as hell.
Yeah, and I mean they were in on the joke for those movies too, which was nice. Like it was nice that they weren't trying to play it seriously.
I agree, and I mean I think that adds to what made those old school movies really fun is their attitudes toward it. They weren't coming into it like, I gotta carry this franchise. We're gonna try to, make 3 movies out of this little concept. It's just, we're gonna, I got a thin script and I'm gonna go out there and give it my best.
Well, yeah, at the time, we didn't care. Well, neither of us were really around for when these movies came out.
No.
But we didn't care what the story was as long as the story made sense. And usually in these movies, the story was really simple.
Yeah, super simple. I mean, you can say it in a paragraph.
Yeah, you take a look at Predator. It's Arnold fighting against a alien hunter in the jungle. And he's got his crew with him for a little bit of the movie. But they didn't try and explain what the Predator is, why he is, like any of that. If you compare it to like the one that just came out last year, where they tried to science it up a little too much. Like I still kind of liked this one. It was more actiony than like, let's try and make it smart.
Yeah.
But when they made those movies in the 80s and early 90s, it was a vehicle for the action. The simple story was a vehicle for the action. You look at the first Rocky. It's Carl Weathers and Sylvester Stallone going head to having a boxing match. That's it. That's all you need.
Well, and when the starring guy basically wrote the entire story in 15 days or something like that, and he's his face is half paralyzed and he has that weird talk. It's just like, oh yeah, okay, sure, let's do it. Let's make this movie. Woo.
And yeah, even something like Die Hard, which we talked about in the open, it's Bruce Willis is in a building. There's terrorists. He's got to get him and all the innocent people out. That's it. That's very simple. If they make that movie today, which they've tried a couple times in the last 10 years to make Die Hard, they would, like, they'd have this complicated backstory of how these guys knew each other at some point, or like the thing that Hans Gruber is trying to steal would be like some weird science or technology thing that they really have to over explain of why they need it. When in Die Hard, it's just like, there's a safe with, I think it was like bonds or something that were worth money. That's all they wanted was some money.
Let me get that money, son.
Yeah.
And
they didn't overcomplicate it.
Yeah, and a blue collar guy kind of comes in and saves the day. But we've just mentioned the 3 big ones that I want to talk about, and I call them the old school trilogy.
I think you call them
or Trinity. Yeah, that's right. I'm sitting here thinking of the Matrix. Actually, sorry, I had a little. Well,
at least you said. At least you didn't say Azazel instead of Azrael.
Yeah, sucker.
What an idiot.
But yeah, the old school Trinity of Schwarzenegger, Willis, and Stallone, man. Arguably, you could kind of switch out some other people, maybe Mel Gibson, but
Yeah,
eh.
Mel
And
Gibson did more things,
yeah, he had some really good movies. Like
which
I don't know when
Bruce Willis got
Payback
into more
came out.
things later, but
Yeah,
in the '80s, like that was Bruce Willis's thing.
well, and Mel Gibson plays a different action hero. He's like that neurotic, stare you down, big-eyed, crazy dude that clenches his jaw all the time. I mean,
Yeah,
he does that in every movie he's in.
he wasn't ever Mr. Muscles, and he was better at playing the period piece action hero,
Yeah,
Braveheart, The Patriot. Like those were his
so
best roles.
love The Patriot. I still watch that all the time.
I haven't seen that in forever, but it's a very good. I love anything with Heath Ledger, pretty much.
Yeah, it's hard not to. I mean, he's such a great actor. I mean, there's some that it's just like, yeah, I'll pass. But these guys, um, the way they kind of got into acting is so roundabout too. When I think about it, like the the trials they went through, I guess is an easy way to say it, but the steps they took to go from basically nobodies to creating a genre that basically ruled the box office for 2 decades.
None of them had that straight line path into acting. Schwarzenegger was a bodybuilder before he came into acting. Sly Stallone was in like a softcore porno on
Yeah.
Showtime, was like his
Yeah.
only acting thing he did before Rocky, but then he wrote and directed Rocky, and like the only way he would let studios make Rocky was if he got to be in it. And
He
then
played his cards
I don't
right.
really know Bruce Willis's backstory,
He
where he
actually
came from.
he came from a long line of blue collar workers, and
Hmm.
he was kind of the guy that decided he liked drama, so he did a
Hmm.
lot of stage acting. And I guess he had a stutter growing up, so that kind of helped defeat his stutter.
It's
Um,
funny that you mentioned that. Nick Offerman, who plays Ron Swanson in Parks and Rec, I heard him on a quote. It was like on a late night show or something one time. He's like, fans will always come up and be like, "Oh, you're such a manly man. I want to be more like you. I want to be like this tough manly man like you are." And he's like, "Look, you gotta understand. In my family, I was the one going to drama classes and being in theater productions. Like,
yeah,
that's just a character I play. Like, I'm somewhat like that, but I'm also the actor of
yeah,
his family, like he's not,
he's a drama geek.
yeah, he's
And
not Ron Swanson.
well, I mean, I read his book, and dude is exceptionally intelligent, but I mean, he's not Ron Swanson by any means. Then he kind of mentions that as soon as he opens the book, um, which I thought was kind of funny, but he does it in a really long-winded, artsy-fartsy kind of way.
Yeah.
These three guys, like we said, they've gone through kind of backwards means to get there, but arguably these three dudes have some of the most iconic roles in all of cinema, and a couple of them too, not just one or
Yeah.
one and they one off and they go into the go into
Well, and
the
I'll
sunset.
still go see movies because these people are in them. Like let's get the elephant in the room out of the way. Terminator Genosis,
Oh, Terminator
Genesis,
Genesis.
Genesis. I don't know how it's pronounced. It's got a lot of Y's and E's and I's in there. But like, I would have not gone and seen that with
I
Amelia Clark and
Ooh.
Jason Clarke. Like, I would have not seen it except Arnold was coming back in it. And they were like, we're returning to form in this one. So I was like, all right, with Arnold back, let's see if they actually do return to form. They did not. It was bad.
It's terrible. Oh my goodness. I
Same.
Same thing for me, man. I went and
Yeah.
saw it with my wife, and that's the one movie we almost got up and walked out of in the past like 5 years.
Oh,
It
I
was so
had that
bad.
at home. I would not have paid money. But like with the Creed movies, Michael B. Jordan and Ryan Coogler help a lot.
Oh, a
But
ton.
having Sylvester Stallone there as well, like gives them kind of credit. Like, okay, if he's still involved, then it's got to be something good. Um, you know, Bruce Willis with the Die Hard movies, he still makes those sometimes, and I've watched all of them. They're not very good,
No.
the last couple, but like you still watch them because you're like, okay, this this is something connected to what I like, so I should like it. Same with Expendables movies. Like that's the reason people went to see these movies was because these guys were in it, and it was supposed to be let's give some '80s action for you.
Yeah, it's entertainment. And I mean, they still
Mm-hmm.
carry a little piece of those iconic characters that they used to play. I mean, they're still halfway playing them, but
Yeah.
they've kind of, the way they're rolling with it, which I like, is they're adapting the characters. Like the characters are changing and evolving just like they are as people. So it's, I don't know, it's almost like seeing two different renditions, like Rocky as a young man in the 70s versus Rocky now, where he's the teacher, or
Well, yeah, it's cool that Rocky has had this huge arc now that like
mhm,
he's not the fighter anymore. He has to help someone else through the things he was helped through in the early movies. I don't feel like Terminator's ever done that because he's a robot.
yeah.
So I mean that makes it a little tough to have a character arc, but there's no reason he can't have a character arc. They just haven't. The,
Well, I mean, Terminator
whoever's
2, man.
making these movies, yeah,
That's
right.
that's
Terminator 1 and 2, and even a little bit 3. But then after you get past that, it's just like we're just going to keep throwing shit out there and
mhm,
hope people will like it because we have this brand on it. Like they're
yeah.
making movies and just throwing them in there, and it doesn't, the plots that they're making up don't make any sense anymore. Like they're just making them way too
Convoluted.
convoluted
Yeah,
to
yeah,
make any
man.
sense.
Well, I kind of tie it like Predator series. No,
Hmm.
no offense, man. I know you liked it, but I
Oh, I can
saw
see
like,
the flaws in it though.
oh my god, I saw the plot and it was just like, this looks dumb as shit, and the previews for it, but that name is still writing on the back of Schwarzenegger. Like, that's crazy. This dude gave such a character rendition. Didn't he play Duke? I was never, or Dutch. I was never
Dutch,
really a
yeah.
big Predator guy. Um, I liked Aliens a little better, but anyways,
Aliens is better, yes.
so good. But yeah, he delivered such an iconic. Same with Terminator. Like
Hmm.
Terminator Genesis had him in it, but it was about Sarah Connor and Kyle
And I'm all
Reese.
for Sarah Connor.
She's
Not
coming
Amelia
back,
Clark
man.
as Sarah Connor. Yes, Linda
No,
Hamilton is coming back.
can't wait to see
And
that,
it's
man. Ooh.
this. I like to call it the Michael Bay syndrome of
Yeah, yep,
if we have enough explosion, the plot doesn't matter. And
no,
honestly, that's true because if you look at a movie like Predator or Die Hard or even the first Terminator, like those plots weren't super deep. Like
no.
they
I
weren't
mean,
anything to write
yeah,
home about, like and make you think. But they also didn't go too far and become this convoluted mess. If you look at Transformers or the new Ninja Turtles movies, like they're just this convoluted mess of science and robots and technology and let's throw everything together and hope people like get in, like they try and build the world all within 2 hours rather than just kind of leaving things on the fringes that you can build out in sequels or just let people kind of come up with the story on their own. They
mm,
try and cram it all in there into 2 hours and it just becomes this convoluted mess where every 20 minutes something has to blow up to keep anyone even a little bit interested.
even a little bit awake, man. It's
Yeah.
it's forced marketability. Like they're
Hmm.
pushing so hard, but with I can't stand
they're
that,
they're
man.
trying they're trying to make them smart,
And grounded in reality, which
but
I don't
they're not smart at all. They just throw a bunch of science words out there that don't make any
exactly.
sense.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to the movies to be grounded in fucking reality. You know what
Not
I mean?
usually.
You know what I mean? I go to the movies because I want to, see, escape for 2 hours. If you want to look at it like that, a lot of people do.
Right, and that's
Um,
like the Meg that just came out with Jason Statham.
yeah,
I was like, all right, cool, shark monster movie. I'm there.
absolutely.
Jason Statham has never been one to be in a smart movie. Like
No,
they can't fuck this up. I watch it and like they did all let's throw all this science crap in there. Like and I like science. I want to learn. I enjoy learning about scientific discoveries and things like that. But when I'm watching a movie about a big shark attacking people, I don't need to know the science behind it.
no. I mean,
I can
it's
you can give me a little bit, don't give me 20 minutes of exposition about why this shark is there eating these people.
yeah. Give me
Give me like
four max.
4 might even be too much. Give me like 30 seconds of like, oh shit, we drilled too deep and this shark came through. That's
Yeah,
good. That's all
I'll,
we need.
I'd settle for a
We pissed him off.
poster
He's
on the
going to attack
wall.
us. Yeah.
They walk by it and it lingers on the poster for a second. It's like, oh, cool, got it,
We
awesome.
pissed him off. He's ready to
Yeah.
attack us. Good.
Oh, sure, done deal. Let's go. But I mean, those I love those kind of movies
Hmm.
sometimes because they're just goofy and fun, and unfortunately,
Well,
they've strung them
even
out so
this
long.
movie isn't an action movie, but Jaws, it's the same thing. Shark is attacking people because shark hungry. Let's
Yeah.
go kill shark.
We shoot
Oh shit,
truck.
we killed wrong shark. Let's go kill right shark.
We got to get that shark. And I
And
mean,
another thing that I think, I know we were trying to get to the next point, but while we're comparing, I have one more thought. Something that helped the older movies that the newer quote unquote action movies don't have is like the supporting cast and the villains matter in these movies.
absolutely,
If you look
they're
at those 80s
compelling.
ones, if you look at Sarah Connor, Linda Hamilton, like she's great. And actually, the star of the show is the villain in that case.
Yeah.
Rocky, you've got Mickey and Polly and Adrian, like is pretty good, and Apollo as the villain is fantastic.
So good. I mean, they're all
Die Hard,
compelling.
Hans Gruber is one of the greatest villains in cinema history. Predator, you got Carl Weathers walking through the jungle with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like that sign me up right there. The Fast and Furious series kind of does a good job with this. This is like that's the closest thing we get to it because they have this sense of family, so they have these people who have fallen into these roles and stuck with them. But then if you look at other movies like Terminator Genesis, you got Amelia Clark as Sarah Connor, just awful. The guy who played John Connor was just awful. I don't even remember who played Kyle Reese in that movie.
He's the dude that played Captain Boomerang in Suicide Squad. Also a terrible movie.
Not great. Yeah.
Jai White, I want to say his name is. But yeah, I mean that was
like
a horrible movie.
The new Predator like had 50 side characters in there, and none
of them were good.
And none of them were that good, and none of them were the quote unquote main character.
Yeah,
there was one who was, but he was like the least known actor that they threw in there. The late Transformers with Mark Wahlberg just like completely mailing in his performance are absolute trash.
Yeah.
The last two or three Pirates of the Caribbean,
terrible.
Same thing. Yeah. Like they think like with Pirates of the Caribbean. Okay, in the first one, people liked Jack Sparrow. Well, that's because Jack Sparrow was a side character in the first one.
Mm-hmm.
So like when you start focusing on him, that gets old so fast.
He can't carry a movie. And ultimately, the plot helps. And the plot in the first Pirates was super. I love that movie.
The first Pirates.
First Pirates is great.
All three of the first ones. Like I think it's a solid trilogy. It's not Star Wars trilogy, but it's a solid trilogy from 1 through 3.
Yeah,
because you still have Orlando Bloom, you have Keira Knightley. Like they're still in the movies doing good things, and Johnny Depp becomes more and more prevalent throughout them, but. Like you also have other things going on around him that are good, and what's his name that plays Barbossa is really good. Jeffrey Rush is fantastic.
He's awesome, man.
And so they hit the nail on the head with your supporting cast and your villains.
Yeah, definitely. Well, they have a half decent plot to work with, whereas like a lot of these, newer movies kind of suck. Or let me rephrase. It's more it's something I want to see, like something I'm kind of invested in a little further. Like, that's one thing it does fantastic. Like, oh, cool, it's this treasure that haunts people type deal, and they're basically alive forever, and he knows about it. Like, I want to watch that. That sounds tight. Like, it looks cool. And, I mean, you got to follow Orlando Bloom.
Now they're just like, boom, here's a pirate ship and Jack Sparrow's on it. That's all you need to know about this movie.
And
that's
drunk.
all the movie is. Yeah.
And there's like some half booby.
The same thing happened with Transformers. Like you had Shia LaBeouf, really good in the first Transformers. Megan Fox was fine in the first Transformers. You got Josh Duhamel, who was really good. You had Tyrese, who I will ride for Tyrese in any movie where he's just screaming nonsense the whole time. Like Tyrese is not a good actor, but man, can he scream at a big monster or a car driving fast. So I'm good with that.
You dead now, sucker? Death Wish. Gotta go with it.
And then the Autobots that they brought in felt like they had personalities and like they were characters. Now they're just like, let's get to the next fight. Yeah, let's get to the next battle. And it's just like you're not making good movies.
No, and there's no continuity for those movies either. Like if they do hit the nail on the head, like Pirates is, I want to say, the sole thing about it. Whereas, I don't know, these guys hit a couple nails on the head in the past. Like, Terminator and Predator both address a crazy issue. What if AI takes over aliens? Like, that's pretty simple, but at the same time, it's very thought-provoking. Same with Die Hard, and Pulp Fiction is the one I really like Bruce Willis in. Like, he beat a guy to death and he's in the trouble with the mob. Like a lot of people, I wouldn't say deal with that exact situation,
But
but
it's relatable on a
exactly.
level of like, okay, I'm a regular person in this
Hmm.
situation. Would I do that or would I do something else?
Yeah, and in Die Hard, man, he's just a true blue cop,
He's a cop, yeah.
and he's just trying to do the right thing, but at the same time, he's got this swashbuckler type personality, and it carries over. And then you got Stallone, who's got Rocky, which is like the greatest success story of all time in cinema, where you watch it, you can't help but feel pumped. And everyone knows the run up the stairs, and even though he lost, he won in the end. And then John Rambo. I mean, I loved Rambo growing up for the sole fact, like, I was really fascinated by war. Growing up, my grandpa was in the military. My dad knows pretty much everything there is to know about World War II. So I deal with war a lot. And I found that, the complexities dealing with Vietnam and the American population. And it's
Mm.
brought to life so well in this movie.
I'm gonna have to go out here and say I've never seen a Rambo film, but I get the appeal of them.
First Rambo is super good. It's got the good, simple but good. He's basically a really good soldier who comes back from Vietnam, and these people in this town, specifically a police force, are kind of fucking with him. And he warns them, and he's like, don't fuck with me, blah blah blah, and then he ends up murking everybody. Um, but that's definitely it was a thing. A lot of people
Yeah.
came back from Vietnam and got shit on. Like
Well,
if
yeah,
you,
it was an interesting look at PTSD
oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
how it could affect a soldier. Like nobody was paying attention to that, and even now, to some extent, like people don't pay enough attention to how something very small in a situation like that can manifest itself into something very difficult when you're here just trying to deal with life
Oh
or
yeah, I mean,
trapped in a jungle trying to deal with life.
I can't even imagine, or in the desert, or
Hmm.
in the freezing cold. Like either way, hundreds of thousands of people, you know, they sign up for that. So it's really relatable in my eyes because that's still a problem. And I mean, people towards the end of like the Iraq and Afghanistan war didn't necessarily look at soldiers like we used to. The romanticized, feeling has kind of wore off, especially as like I want to say the second war that the American population was really against. Like the first one would be Vietnam, Iraq and Afghanistan would be the second.
Yeah,
That was big time.
I
Terrible,
would agree.
terrible, terrible.
Yeah. So yeah, we've got these guys who build these iconic characters, and you go to the movie because the movies are about the characters, not because you care about what's going on in the movie. And
Mm,
I know I'm kind of going against my previous point of like these people now trying to make action movies don't make them very, like, the plots aren't very good, but the, I've said it like 100 times. I think they didn't need the plot because the actors and the characters carried through whatever you needed to get
absolutely.
through.
Well, I mean, it's not that they didn't.
They had a plot. It was just
Hmm.
a simple plot that got you from point A to point B. It didn't try to set up 50 sequels. You look at something like The Mummy, where it's just Tom Cruise running around by himself for the entire movie,
Didn't even watch
and
that one. Ugh.
I haven't seen it either, but everything I've heard is just like Tom Cruise took complete control. He wanted to be the only thing interesting about it. So when it came to the end and they're trying to set up this universe, he's the only thing interesting about it. You can't build a universe on that.
No, there's nothing that makes me want to go back to the movie and
With
see any more of that.
Die Hard, you have, Bruce Willis trapped fighting against these terrorists, and that's it. At the end of the movie, the terrorists are gone, everybody's saved,
Yeah, good guy
and
wins.
yeah, the good guy wins. And then people tell you we want more of that, so you can build on that after the
Hmm.
fact because you have characters who are likable and good.
Well, and at the same time, since they're kind of B movies, just glorified B movies, I want to say, with if we're going off like simple plot, you can just
Hmm.
make shit up, man. Like they would just make shit up off the top of their head, and it works because these guys are iconic.
Well,
They
yeah.
played iconic characters, and they have iconic lines, iconic looks, iconic walks and talks. It's awesome. They do such a good job with that.
Well, and something like Predator, like they in Predator, they take time to explain not why the predator's hunting, but that he's been there before and that this happens. Like the girl who they rescue like stops and explains like that this happens, like this has been happening for years, and we call him, you know, the devil who hunts or some crap like that.
Mm.
And like you can choose to pay attention to that, or you can have your brain shut off for those 30 seconds while she's explaining it. And the movie, either way, the
It's
movie
good.
is just enjoyable, just
Yeah.
as enjoyable. Where like I feel like in something like Terminator Genesis, if you turn your brain off for a second, you miss, you know, that much exposition, and then you're the whole movie you're trying to like put all these pieces together that they don't actually fit perfectly together. So you're
Yeah.
putting way too much effort into making the plot work
Exactly. I
as a
mean,
viewer.
they got time, like different timelines and all this crazy shit, and it's like, dude, I don't want to keep track of all this stuff. I don't think it's cool to have all this mysticism
No.
crap involved. I want to see some fucking biceps, some girls, and some guns. That's
And
what I'm here for.
I'll give credit to the Creed movies because they have not gone that path.
No,
Like
and
they for the most part are
that's A
dude
plus
wants to fight
casting right
somebody.
there. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I
and I
mean, it's
mean
simple. It's a
having
success
Michael B.
story, though.
Jordan really helps. Having you know, Sly Stallone still there helping everybody through.
Hmm.
All of that helps. So
Absolutely.
and I think telling this story and keeping it moving in this way, they've done a better job. And I guess with boxing, like there is no scientific or technological advancement that like they can like shoehorn in there like they do in all
Yeah.
these other movies. But at the same time, if they wanted to, they could find a way.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
What's next?
What's next is most iconic lines, and
Ooh, I've been waiting
these
for
guys
this.
have several. So I had to go out on a limb and just kind of pick my favorite. Pretty standard, but I mean, it it harkens to the first
Are you gonna do
Terminator.
the accent?
No,
Oh,
because
come on now.
I don't want to lose subscribers. It's terrible. I used to be able to do it like before my voice dropped as I went through puberty. I used to be able to do it real well, and my little brother could do it so well, but I can't. And I love the way he delivers it, and the line itself in the first Terminator where he, right after Kyle Reese is freaking out and just saying this guy will find you no matter what, he's gonna kill us, blah blah blah. Shows up, cop tells him to fuck off basically, and then he hits him with the "I'll be back." It was just, oh, and then he rams a
That's a
car
great
through
one.
the front of the,
That and Hasta la Vista, baby. Like that's all you need from those movies. And
yeah,
then you got Predator. You got Get to the Chopper
into
now.
the chopper.
You got Put That Cookie Down now. Great line from Jingle All the Way. And then really, I will ride for anything that he says in Batman and Robin.
I
Like those
have
are iconic lines that they may be more notorious than famous.
cringeworthy
But
is a good way to say it. And we'll get into that as well.
oh, we're gonna talk about Batman and Robin.
Oh yeah.
Love
Oh
Batman and
yeah.
Robin.
And then you got Bruce Willis with the most out there one I've ever heard. Yippee ki motherfucker! Like
Yeah,
everybody
I mean
knows that
that's.
line. But
And
what kind
so
of
I hated in Die Hard 4, the one with Justin Long, and there were like hackers, and Timothy Olyphant was in it, I think.
sounds
Um,
terrible.
it was okay. It was okay. That's the one where he flew a car into a helicopter. So, I mean, you had to suspend disbelief a little bit. But like they rated that movie PG-13, which is another thing movies will try and do. Like you have these action movies that were all hard R's in the 80s and 90s, and now
Oh
they
yeah.
try and mass appeal them and put them PG-13. It's like, well, with no blood and no swearing and no boobs,
It's not the
it's
same.
not the same movie. Like
Well, they're
it's
trying
not the
to
same thing.
spread out the love to the whole audience, but
Hey,
I
guess
mean,
what? If it's rated R, 13-year-olds will go see it.
absolutely. And I mean, a hard R back in the day was a hard R. Like that stuff
Well,
was
yeah.
violent as shit.
Well,
Like,
they would say shit in PG movies back then because PG-13 didn't exist at the time. Like if you
mm,
watch the 70s Bad News Bears, they say shit more than like I don't know. I can't think of a PG-13 comedy from today. Dumb and Dumber probably.
I mean, they say shit a couple times, but I look at like Ninja Turtles when
Mm-hmm.
he yells "damn" and they say "damn" a couple times and stuff
Yep.
like that. Like that was such a bad word when I was a kid, but woo.
Yep.
So I love that first Ninja Turtles movie. It's dope.
I'll ride for all three of them.
Yeah. Well, I the one thing I will argue, I love Stallone in Rocky. I love
Hmm.
his Adrian. That's the
Yo,
most
Adrian,
iconic.
I did it.
Adrian, like where he just sounds like this dude. This I don't know. I mean, he just
Another,
had the dog shit beat out of him, and he
yeah,
sounds like it.
and another great thing like that you got in the Rocky movies. This isn't necessarily a line, but like everyone had the perfect training montage.
Oh yeah. Well,
There
and they
will
all
be
have the same.
someday a Rocky movie superlative. We'll
Yes,
do that
definitely.
someday.
It's such a good series. Such a good.
Number five will not be nominated for any awards.
It's garbage.
I've
You
never even seen it.
garbage. Oh, dude.
I'm going to watch it. Like it's on my list to watch. I'm just like, I can watch something new that may be good or may not be, or I can watch this thing that I know is bad, but like I'm a completionist, so I have to.
We'll
It's
talk about
rough.
Rocky Five here in a minute. But it, speaking of terrible, awful movies, these guys all had their iconic lines, but they also had terrible, awful lines that I think, it just makes like your skin crawl when you hear them. But at the same time, you can't help but
So
laugh.
this is where the Batman and Robin stuff
Yeah,
comes in.
man. I was gonna say him as Mister
Chill.
Freeze. Let's kick some ice. Like what? Like, huh? Let's kick some ice.
I love it.
And oh god, it's terrible. And he's so campy in that, but at the same
It's
time,
fantastic.
you can't help but laugh at it because it's just like, oh my god, you roll your eyes and it's
It's
almost like a
so good.
kid throwing
Such a great
himself on the
movie.
ground. We'll argue that someday. And here, and I mean, I was gonna also mention Bruce Willis in the Die Hard 4. I think you were talking about,
Hmm.
where guy says to John McClane, he's like, "You just killed a helicopter with a car," and
Yeah.
McClane, and then he goes, "I was out of bullets." Like, what? It's like,
Great
okay.
line.
Well, I mean, that's
I
just
think
the
you're
natural
wrong on these.
progression of
These
things.
are all great lines.
Well, maybe
That was
cringeworthy in
the
my
so
opinion.
I tried to make this point earlier and I got off on my own tangent. That was the movie where they made it PG-13 and he didn't get to deliver Yippee Ki motherfucker because it was PG-13. So he just like pulls the gun on a dude and it's just like Yippee Ki mother, and then just stop. Like I think he pulls the trigger or something. So
Mm-hmm.
like that sound goes over where you would say fucker. And it's like, nah, man.
No.
You get one fuck in a PG-13 movie. Why are you not saving it for
Yeah.
that?
Use it wisely, dude. What the hell? And they just use it way too early now. They'll use it in the first 7 minutes and be like, whew, we got that out of the way. Thank God.
Yeah, they just want to get it out. They got to hit their quota. I learned that factoid from watching Be Cool with Vince Vaughn and Christina Milian. Not a good movie, but a very
Oh
fun
man, that
movie.
sounds awful.
Andre 3000 is in
Oh
it,
my
and John
God,
Travolta is
wow.
in it.
That sounds terrible.
It's kind of a follow up to Get Shorty, but not really a follow up to Get Shorty, and it's like fine. And Uma Thurman's in it too, looking very good.
I suppose those are good lines, but at the same time, they're just so goofy. Like they make me cringe. Like I don't when you had Rocky, who's like dumb as shit, but a great fighter who loves this chick. And I think my favorite series of lines is when he's talking to Adrian. He's like, I never knew you were so light. And he says after every word, kind of like I do.
Yeah.
And and then Adrian's like, no. No, if I did, I would have carried you everywhere. Like, what, dude? Like, how do you come to that conclusion? It's like, oh, you're so
It's
lonely.
just flirting.
That's the worst flirting I ever heard, man. No
Yeah, it's
wonder.
not.
No wonder he was
Rocky is
lonely.
not known for his flirting abilities.
Seriously, he's like, hey, you want to look at my meat pie face? And so he hits him with those crazy ass lines. And you know what? He probably would carry her around everywhere, doing push-ups with her while he's running down the street.
I mean, to be fair, the first Rocky won an Oscar, so
Worth it. I mean,
yeah,
but still, that's a terrible line. You got to admit.
yeah, I'll give you that one. I mean, there's definitely in the first two Rockies, there's really bad dialogue. In 3 and 4, I don't think there's any
No,
dialogue
it's
in those two
very,
movies
very. I honestly, I haven't seen Rocky 3 in like probably 10
except Clubber
years.
Lang. When you get Mr. T in there, he spits some
He
fire.
spits that hot fire. Turn my mic
Yeah,
up. Sorry, I had to drop a Chappelle Show reference in there.
you're good. You're good. We're fans of Chappelle Show
That's
here.
right.
So where are they now? What happened to these guys? We've talked a little bit about what they're doing nowadays. Kind of. I mean, we talked about Terminator Genesis. We've talked about all the Die Hard movies. Bruce Willis, I mean, he's still kind of kicking in action
Hmm.
movies if you think about it. He just did Split or
I,
Glass
I want to see that
rather.
really bad.
You got to see it. It's good.
Okay, cool. I mean, I wanted to.
He's still trying to do his thing as much as he can. Like Die Hard 5 came out less than 5 years ago. He's doing the best he can, and like Schwarzenegger and Stallone, like you can tell they've just lost every action bone in their body.
They don't have. I mean, they destroyed their body with
the
steroids.
have worn out. Yeah,
absolutely. And I mean, Willis is still going pretty
or
strong.
A doctor told them like if you want to live for another 20 years, you have to stop doing steroids. So they did. That's kind of what Stallone and
Schwarzenegger's got titties, man. He's got straight up titties.
Yeah, it's not pretty.
No, but either way, dude took his fame, parlayed it into government, like the Governator. Like that is so awesome that he did that. Kind of like our, he's a little more likable than our current celebrity in charge. And I mean, Stallone's got the directing. Like I'm pretty sure he directs Creed. Oh, he doesn't direct Creed. That's Coogler. He produces it though.
He wrote on it, yeah, and he directed at least the first Expendables. And then I think he directed Escape Plan.
He directs a lot of,
which was a movie with him and Schwarzenegger. Yeah, like that. He kind of sticks to that. Like he tries to make modern day action movies, and they're just not good because they're not good. That's not what people want to see anymore.
No.
But he's still out there doing some things. Bruce Willis is still hanging on tight. He didn't have the steroid muscles like Schwarzenegger.
No, he was not
really.
A muscle-bound guy.
He hasn't had that steep decline, and he is a good actor in other things.
Absolutely.
Like you see him in The Whole Nine Yards, he's good at that. The Sixth Sense, he's good at that. Unbreakable, I mean that's kind of an action movie, but it's kind of not as well. Like he's good in things that aren't like let me blow shit up.
Yeah, he can definitely go that route.
I don't know if you've ever seen Schwarzenegger or Stallone in anything that isn't let's blow shit up, but it's not pretty.
No, it's terrible. They're both terrible character actors. Like they have their iconic guys and they stick to that.
You don't like Junior?
No.
Or Twins?
Nope. And
or Jingle All the Way?
Nope. And everything that they play now is kind of based off those old school, characters they play.
Yeah, they're trying to get back kind of to that just to keep making money, I suppose.
Either way though, you gotta take a step back and look at it like this. They're still successful. Like they're still making hella money later on in life. I mean, they paid a steep price with their bodies and they'll probably die young or younger than they should, but they've been really successful, man, and they still, they'll leave their kids a good amount of money and they'll have a legacy. Whereas a lot of these newer guys, I don't think they really will.
Yeah. That's going to be interesting. Should we talk about some of these newer guys?
I mean, we could go for it.
Who's the action star of today? The Rock is number one. Like, if you're seeing an action movie and The Rock's not in it, like, what's the point? But even the movies he's in, other than the Fast series.
Skyscraper.
Rampage.
Yep.
Same thing. Could have just been a badass monster movie. They science it up. Like, it was weird. Welcome to the Jumanji.
Jumanji was pretty cool. I like that movie.
It was pretty good, but they even kind of still took it a little too far. In some places. And it's just like, just let The Rock be strong. Movie like Pain and Gain that he made a couple years ago, where they're like bodybuilders. Yeah, they went in a completely weird, like that was an interesting true story that they could have told, and they just decided like let's make this as fucking weird as possible.
Well, I mean, if you've never seen The Other Guys, his little bit part in The Other Guys is perfect primetime Rock. Like he's really funny. He's super funny, and he's just I don't know.
He's pretty good in Ballers. He's that movie I mentioned earlier, Be Cool. Like that was one of his first comedic roles because he was doing like Standing Tall and Walking Tall, whatever those movies were. The Rundown, those ones in his early years. He had done those already, but this was like his first comedic role, and he killed it in that.
Yeah, he's hilarious.
As just like this bit comedic guy. So you've got The Rock, definitely. You've got Tom Cruise, who is, I guess, just going to be an action star until he's fucking 90.
I mean, he doesn't age, or he just ages slower than the rest of us humans. Scientology, bro.
It reminds me, like, I feel like in another 30 years, he's going to be like Martin Short's character in Arrested Development, the Bullet, where he doesn't have any use of his, like, he bodybuilded too much and he has no use of his legs, and he's just kind of the strong guy carrying around, swoop me! Swoop me, dragon! And he's spitting all over. Like, that's going to be Tom Cruise in 30 years.
Yeah, and
The Rock is going to be carrying him around.
That would be hilarious. He just carries him on his back. The Rock should play Hodor in the Game of Thrones reboot in 30 years.
Swoop me.
Dude, bam. Like, we should take that. We should take that shit to the
Nah,
studios.
the Rock's too good. Like, you can't have him saying one word.
Hodor. And he just has
Yeah.
his eyebrow raised the whole time. But I mean, Tom Cruise is okay, but he's been in some hot garbage. Like Oblivion was hot trash. The Mummy, like some over, and then he's
Yeah,
got
Oblivion was not good. The Mummy, from all I've heard, is not good.
terrible.
He was in this movie that a lot of people think is bad, but I kind of thought it was almost one of these old school action movies. Night and Day with Cameron Diaz. This was
My wife
8 years
loves
ago.
that movie, man. She
That
loves
movie
it.
was that movie was not a great movie,
No.
but it was good for what it was. It was simple.
Yeah.
Cameron Diaz gets caught up in, I think he was a spy or something, and she just gets caught up and is riding around with him, and they do action star stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine.
Yeah.
It was simple.
Yeah, I mean, I can get down on that, and they got decent chemistry, and
Yep.
I think.
And Tom Cruise is really good. He's really good at Mission Impossible.
Well, he's got
He was
Ethan
really
Hawke.
good in Edge of Tomorrow.
That's Edge of Tomorrow is a great movie. I loved that, and he did play some iconic characters. Like I never liked Top Gun, but Top Gun.
Jerry Maguire.
Jerry Maguire. Fucking oh god, Ethan Hawke, and isn't that his name?
Ethan Hunt.
Ethan Hawke.
Ethan Hawke is an actor.
He yeah, we'll get into that some other day. And then his other kind of smaller characters, like A Few Good Men was really good. There's others, but he kind of, I think, has the most prolific career these days. And then The Rock, and then I'd say third for action star these days. He's kind of waned over the years, but for me is Vin Diesel. Specifically,
Yeah, see, he doesn't do a lot. I
not
had a different
anymore.
person in this slot.
Well, I had Vin Diesel for his stuff in Fast and the Furious and Chronicles of Riddick.
And Riddick,
I
yeah.
love those movies, man. They're just
I've never seen those movies.
really
Yeah, they seem interesting. I just
Pitch
like they were
Black
never on
is-
my radar.
is
Yeah.
pretty good, but I love Chronicles of Riddick. It's got Carl Urban in it, and another actress. She's in Westworld. I don't know her name, but she's pretty good. It's just a good movie. It's a good concept.
Yeah, I've heard really good things. It was just like one of those things that was not on my radar when it came out, and just I never went back to it. I had Jason Statham in this slot.
I vacillated between the two. I think Jason Statham has replaced him as the buff bald white guy.
And Statham kind of goes more for those like dumb action movies.
Crank and Death Race.
Crank is fantastic.
Love that
I
movie, man.
Crank. The transporter, like these things that like let's not try and make him too smart. Let's just and the Meg. That's why I thought the Meg, like Jason Statham loves dumb action movies. So I'm like, all right, Jason Statham, shark. This has got to be it. At some point, he's going to fist fight this shark. That's all I'm here for.
Or samurai sword it, or just kill it with something, and that's Jason Statham.
And I think we're losing a lot in the action genre because there's been a shift to superhero movies. Like the MCU is just dominated. So instead of action stars, you have Captain America and Iron Man and Spider-Man and all these other, you have Wolverine, who like you could argue that Hugh Jackman is an action star because of all the Wolverine movies or X-Men movies.
I
like that.
Love his.
He doesn't do any other
action
other than that.
No, he really doesn't. He does. He's a good actor though, and I mean I love the MCU's not technically. It's more Fox's way they did. I mean Hugh Jackman was a great Wolverine, but that's not the Wolverine from the comics. Like it's got a lot of the quality. He's too tall. He's not big enough. Like Wolverine is a stump, and I don't know. He's kind of more of a. There's a quote that comes to mind every time you think of that, and it's part of it is be fearful of a gentle man who's angry, or some shit like that. And I think Logan in reality is more of a gentle cat, but he gets that rage type shit. He's just a gruff dude.
So here's what I'm thinking for when Marvel finally buys Fox: Peter Dinklage, get ripped, be the next Wolverine. He's got the height. He's got kind of the big head going on. Like I'm not trying to make fun of him here. Like
that'd be awesome.
he could make a good Wolverine.
I would pay money to see that shit. I would so pay money. I'd probably watch that movie.
He's got to get ripped.
He's already pretty ripped, man.
But I mean, he was already the dwarf on Nidavellir, so yeah. I don't know that he can cross over. Yeah, Eitri, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think though, I think we have more quote unquote action stars today than we did back in the day. Like we have really iconic guys back in the day. So, we have more of a quality versus quantity situation.
We have people who try.
They
you
try
have
their
Chris
darndest.
Hemsworth out there who tries to be an action star in movies other than, being Thor. You have Sam Worthington who tried his damnedest and just didn't get there.
I liked him in a couple things.
What's his name? Chris Pine has, tried his hand at being an action hero.
Yeah.
Liam Neeson is an action hero.
Fuck Liam Neeson. That dude pisses me off.
Yeah, but he's Taken, so I mean, that's an action movie.
Yeah, he's given, this generation a whole series of memes that are just priceless.
Yeah, I mean, and he's one of those, like, he is a modern day 80s action star because I don't remember, there have been a few movies that he's been in the past few years that, like, my wife and I are looking for something to watch, and she's like, what should we do? And I'll, like, name this thing. She's like, all right, what is it? And I'm like, well, it's Liam Neeson on a plane.
So I'm good.
Like, you do the math from there. Or it's Liam Neeson on a train.
Mm-mm.
Or it's Liam Neeson against a wolf. Like, that's what it is. And that's how these guys were in the 80s. It was, okay, Schwarzenegger is a barbarian this time. Okay, Schwarzenegger is a robot this time. All right, Schwarzenegger is a commando this time.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, like that. And that's how you had to describe the movie. It didn't matter what else was going on.
Yeah, and there's a good argument for Liam Neeson belonging in that category. I don't really like Liam Neeson in anything. But
I haven't watched a Liam Neeson movie in a while.
Yeah.
I did watch that Liam Neeson on a plane movie, but that was probably the last one.
It's just the same dumb fucking concept. For all they're all generic. I feel like these days, or retreads, or the same shit that's been done. So I just feel like we were really spoiled back in the day, man. Like those were great movies. And now we have a whole. We got to wade through a lot of crap to get to the.
With Schwarzenegger, all of those things I named were fundamentally different.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it was Schwarzenegger being a robot, or being a military commando, or being a barbarian. But each movie was in a different setting, doing a different thing. It wasn't. Like, it would have been very easy just to make him a cyborg every time.
Well, I mean...
and that's what they've done with Liam Neeson. It's like, okay, you're a dad who somebody pissed... You're a ex-CIA who's a dad, and somebody's fucking with your family, so now you have to hurt them.
And you're going to do
that's
a good
what
job.
It is every movie.
Exactly. And I mean, he doesn't... Each one is so similar to the last, you can't really tell the difference. Whereas, like, Conan and Terminator are two... completely on the opposite sides of the spectrum in regards to movies, whereas Taken and The Grey is like, okay, both these guys, it's basically, survival of the fittest, and Liam Neeson's gonna do it. That's a good one. I mean, I kind of wish I would have thought about him, because he seems pretty dangerous. I mean, all these guys are pretty dangerous if you want to look at their roles, but in a fight to the death, who would win? I'm going to throw it at you right now. Fight to the day, and we're going by
characters or actors.
Actors, it's obvious that Schwarzenegger would.
I mean, I'm pretty sure characters. It's obvious too. Like, you got a fucking cyborg.
yeah. I mean, that's kind of cheating.
All right, let's take him out of there and keep playing this.
Ooh, game. That makes it way harder. We want to know what you guys think on Twitter, by the way. So let us know who would win in a fight to the death and why.
That would have been a better Twitter question to ask than what I asked.
Yeah.
But I did ask who was your favorite 80s action star. We got some good. We got Harrison Ford, which we didn't talk about him at all.
I know, man.
I don't know that he was an action star.
No.
We had Indiana Jones. That was action. But, like, Han Solo is not an action character.
He's...
I guess...
That's tough.
Not Air Force One, but he was in... he was in one of those where he's like a president's bodyguard. He's, he's like right on the fringe.
Blade Runner?
Not an action movie at all.
Yeah, I think he was more in like the sci-fi realm, kind of like how Chris Pine is with like Star Trek and stuff like that.
That's a good point. He was kind of in Chris Pine's lane. Chris Pine might have made a really good Han Solo.
He would have made a fucking great Han Solo, dude. Oh,
why did you just put that thought in my brain?
Dang, dude, I never even thought of that till this. Holy shit, he would have been so
I like
good.
Chris Pine. Oh, you know who else we got?
Who's that?
Who does good in action movies? He doesn't do a lot of them, but when he does, you got Tom Hardy.
So I love Tom Hardy, man.
I'll watch him in anything.
He was great in like Warrior and Inception. I thought he was awesome in Inception.
He's everything I've seen him in. He's been great. So that was from the Free Refills podcast, says Indiana Jones. The Well podcast says John McClane, which obviously we've covered him there.
Yes, sir.
And Proficient with Skulls.
Nice.
Yeah,
me too.
crazy.
I use mine every day.
Eddie Valiant from Who Framed Roger Rabbit. That's another movie that was never on my radar. So I can't speak to that.
Yeah, I would never really associate that with an action star. That's more of like a single movie, so I don't know if that constitutes being an action
like
star.
a good action character.
I mean,
but thanks for the help on that, answering our question on Twitter. We'll usually put one up when we record an episode, and feel free to come at us about this. We'll probably put up a poll on it, before the episode releases. So check that poll out.
Absolutely.
Or after it releases. Sometime there will be a poll at some point saying who's going to win this free for all, excluding the Terminator.
Excluding the Terminator. And I do have someone in mind, though, I must say, who is a close second for me. But I'd love to hear yours first.
So I set this up a little different than free for all. I did it a team battle.
Nice.
I took your 80s guys versus your new guys.
Ooh.
So for your new guys, I've got Detective Hobbs from the Fast and Furious series. I've got the Transporter, Jason Statham, and Ethan Hunt, obviously. And I matched them up against Rambo, Unbreakable, whatever his name is, the Green Ghost or whatever they're calling him in Unbreakable.
Oh, God, I know his name. I can't think of it. David Dunn.
And, David Dunn. And I'm not going to go with Conan. I'm going to go with Dutch. Conan, you got to get in close with a sword. I don't like that. I think the 80s still take it. You got a guy who obviously can't get injured.
Yeah.
You've got,
big guns.
A guy who, two guys with guns who are just super proficient. The only thing that I'll give, I think Ethan Hunt might be able to kind of sneak on him a little bit.
Yeah.
He might be able to outsmart him.
Well, he's always got
these aren't the three smartest guys.
No, but he's always got a 9mm, and that's pretty much it. Whereas, Dutch has a giant gun. And so does Hobbs. Last preview I saw from Fast and the Furious, he had like a straight up saw.
Yeah,
that beats a.
He's on Ethan Hunt's team.
Oh yeah. Well, see,
I think the old guys still take it there.
Yeah, I
don't think there's any situation you can set up where the new guys take it, unless you've got one.
You've defeated my point with you got to get up close with blades. But I'd love to see Riddick on that team. I think he would straight up slay those fools.
You could have it come down to him and Conan the Barbarian and have
that'd be dope. Riddick wins.
Going shot for shot.
Riddick wins.
I don't know that I've ever seen Conan. I saw the remake. I know that. And it wasn't very good.
No, it was awful. I went and saw that with my dad. Jason Momoa was pretty tight. But it was just a terrible fucking movie. And the old ones weren't great either.
Yeah, I think the only one who stands really a chance is Ethan Hunt, because like Hobbs, like you said, he's got some weaponry and he's got some muscles, but he's not the sharpest tool in the drawer. Like he's gonna, I think these guys just beat him to the punch. They're better. In every Fast and Furious movie that Hobbs has been in, he's been getting his ass kicked by Vin Diesel or Paul Walker or Michelle Rodriguez. Somebody is kicking his ass. Like that's his point of being in the movie, is to get his ass kicked. So like I just don't think he holds up against Rambo or Dutch.
Rambo too. He's got a giant gun
and a big knife,
super big knife.
Yeah.
What's with the knives, guys? Chill it.
Yeah. Too many knives. I think that's all we have to talk about.
I think that's all we got to talk about, brother, on this fantastic episode of B Movies and Biceps.
B Movies and Biceps. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening. Check us out on the Podcoin app. If you ever wanted to make money for listening to podcasts, check us out there. Also, check out You Are All Alone over there. You get some Shroot Bucks and Stanley Nickels just for listening. Use our code. I think it was it's APAS pod. When you sign up, use our code. You'll get 300 free Shroot Bucks. So check that out.
Super awesome, guys. I love getting paid to listen to shows.
We don't make money for you listening on it. You make money for you listening on it.
You can get cool stuff.
Yeah, if you want to help us make money, we have our Patreon page. That is patreon.com/podcast about something. A lot of new content coming soon. We talked about it on the last episode. We got pilot projections, random reviews. We got Warget to Me coming up in April for Game of Thrones talk. So a lot of cool stuff. Check out Patreon. You can also, if you don't like the monthly subscription to Patreon, on our website, a podcastaboutSomething.com, there on the About Us page, there is a donut donate button. It'd be cool if there was a donut button, but
hit me.
It's a donate button. Hit that donate button. It goes straight to our PayPal. Whatever you want to give one time would be greatly appreciated. We'll give you a shout out on the show just because it's important that you helped us out, and we like to keep doing this.
Absolutely.
So any support helps.
Absolutely. I mean, every little bit helps. And whether it's 50 cents to $50, and if you give us $50, I'll give you like 50 shout outs on the show.
You get to be a guest on the show.
That'd
yeah,
be sweet.
I mean, like at that point, you get to pick a topic and be a guest on the show. If you check out Patreon, that's our highest level. You can be a guest and pick a topic, as long as it's not like super offensive or anything. Like, we don't want any KKK members on here. Sorry.
F off, KKK members.
I will draw the line there.
Yeah. Bigots, KKK members, all those dumb people. So yeah, a podcast about something about us on the website. Check it out, guys.
Podcastaboutsomething.com. Check us on Twitter, at APA something. Check Nick out on Twitter at alone_podcast. And again, listen to You Are All Alone. It's heating up.
I appreciate it, folks.
Shit's going down.
We're going to have a new episode coming soon, and it's going to be a pretty good one, in my opinion. But I'm biased, admittedly, so there's that.
Yeah, well, you should be biased about your own shit.
I try to be. But I try to be.
All of our music is provided by those cats. Make sure you subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes.
And you guys stay sassy.
Stay classy.